Good morning. My name is Brooke Porter-Coles with the Department of Workforce Services. We are ready to begin for this morning's unemployment insurance claims report for the week of June 7th through June 13th. I will invite Kevin Burt, the Director of Unemployment Insurance Division, up here to go over the numbers and to answer any questions. For members of the media, if you have questions, you can send me a text or an email as outlined in the press release. Thanks. Kevin?
Good morning. So I wanted to go over some of the numbers and then provide a little bit of information about some of the CARES Act programs, and then we'll go ahead and take any questions that you might have. And we did see during that week about 4,800 claims, new claims for unemployment insurance that week. That is almost 12% down, 11.7% down from the previous week. Now, it is interesting to note that last week we actually saw, for the first time, an increase in claims in over 8 weeks. So we had seen an 8-week decline in unemployment claims. Last week we saw an increase in claims, and then it went back down another 11.7% this week. And that's why we try to make sure that look at week to week, it's not necessarily a trend. And so it is promising to see that it went down for 8 weeks. We did see 1 week of increase, but that it is again corrected again as the economy starts to grow, as economic activity starts to return, and as some of the restrictions are lifted and people get more comfortable with it, it is promising to see that those claims continue to go down. It is, again, important for context, though. 4,800 claims is still incredibly high. During the Great Recession, the highest weekly unemployment claims that we took was 5,000. And this is 3 months into the pandemic. So we are still trending incredibly high, and a lot of people are still being impacted by unemployment through the pandemic. But again, it is trending in the right direction. Again, continued claims or the weekly claims is an important number. That's the number of individuals that are still asking for the benefit. So you have your new weekly claims or your new initial claims and then your continued claims, people that are still requesting the benefit. That number is at 87,837 for this week. That again is down, but only down about 3.6%. But it is down for 6 consecutive weeks. And so you do have new people applying, and you have people continuing to apply, but the number coming on is not coming faster than the number that are falling off. And so it is promising to see that number go down for 6 consecutive weeks. Again, it is incredibly high. It's almost 900% higher than the average continued claims filed per week in 2019. But at its peak during the pandemic, that number was around 107,000. So it's 20,000 less than it was at its peak in April and May. During this week, we paid out almost $25 million in state unemployment benefits, an additional $47 million in the $600 stimulus benefit, as well as $1.1 million in the extended pandemic 13-week extension benefit, for a total of $73 million of unemployment benefits for the week of June 7th through June 13th. Remember that we also have a new program, a temporarily fully federally funded program called the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program. That is a program for those that are traditionally not eligible for unemployment, such as those that are self-employed and gig workers. We saw 1,700 applications there. That is actually an increase after that had also been trending down, but only a 2% increase. At its peak, when we first opened the pandemic, there was about 7,700 applications in a week. So that is trending in the right direction as well. We paid out nearly $12 million in benefits through the pandemic unemployment assistance. And so cumulatively, and remember, we're about 3 months into this, or a little past 3 months into this. The first time we saw an increase in the unemployment claims was on March 15th. And so this is numbers through June 13th. So almost exactly 3 months into it. And during that time, we received over 218,000 initial claims for unemployment benefits. To provide some context, during the calendar year 2017, 2018, and 2019, we received 195,000 applications. So we've received more applications in the last 3 months than we have in the last 3 years. And so there was an immediate demand, and we also had these new federal programs because so many people were impacted by the pandemic and some of the conditions to try and keep people safe with the stay home, stay safe, and unemployment has been able to weather that. Also, to date, we've paid out $732 million in benefits over the last 3 months. To put that into context, during calendar year 2016, 17, 18, and 19, we paid out $650 million. So we've actually paid out more benefits in the last 3 months than we paid out the 4 previous years of unemployment benefits. So I guess I know, and I guess let me kind of explain and bring back some of the CARES Act programs, because now that we have the context of just how many people have applied for benefits and just how much money has been issued, I do have to say that I'm incredibly proud of the staff and what work they have done to be able to provide this relief to so many individuals and Utahns that have been impacted by the pandemic. I know that everyone's experience with unemployment insurance hasn't always been the best. It hasn't always been the cat's meow. But I do know that the responsibility and the work that was put on the workers in the division was so enormous, not just with 3 years of work in 30 days, but with the 5 CARES Act programs that had to be stood up that were new and federally funded to provide relief, and how they were brought up. Just to kind of put some reminders of it, the $600 stimulus, the state of Utah was the 8th fastest to put that up, and we've paid out over $460 million in benefits with the $600. There are still, actually last week, 2 states were able to finally implement the $600 stimulus. 3 months into it, we were able to do it a couple weeks into it. The pandemic unemployment assistance, we were the 11th fastest state to be able to introduce that program, and we've paid over $50 million in benefits through this pandemic, which is the self-employed unemployment insurance. There are still 9 states that don't even have an application and haven't paid any of those benefits. And then also, Utah was the 15th fastest state to introduce the 13-week federally funded extended benefit. And we've paid out over $4.2 million in benefits there, helping over 4,000 people. There are still 30+ states in the nation that do not have the 13-week extension. And so 3 years of work in 3 months, as well as all of these programs, the work that the staff have done has been incredible. They've been working incredibly long hours, and they've been able to provide the relief to the tune of $730 million in unemployment benefits to people who have been laid off due to the pandemic or have had their employment interrupted due to the pandemic. Now, that's all great information, and I do have to stray from being a happy herald to for a moment, because the question is, the unemployment benefit, that $730 million is an incredible amount. But keep in mind that stability is 6 weeks away from being unstable. The unemployment insurance program is never designed to be a full replacement wage. It historically has been about a 40% replacement wage, meaning the amount that you make, unemployment will only pay you 40% of that to help provide some economic relief, but encourage return to new employment or re-engagement in the workforce. During the pandemic, there was a need to have the unemployment benefit go longer or be stronger or have a better replacement wage, because there was a need to have people stay home and stay safe. And so that $600 stimulus came into play to encourage that and promote that. And in Utah, many individuals with that $600 stimulus has now had a full replacement wage or seen a full replacement wage with their unemployment benefit, providing economic stability to encourage them to stay home and to stay safe, as well as allow employers to pause their economic activity to meet the requirements and then hold on to their talented workforce and bring them back. That $600 goes away for the traditional state benefit, the pandemic unemployment benefit, as well as the 13-week extension at the end of July. That's 6 weeks left. It is important to note that there were 87,000 people that were asking for continued benefits. Those 87,000 people, if we were to end today, would see a drastic reduction in the stability that unemployment is providing, because they would go from a full replacement wage to a 40% replacement wage. Some of the concern that we have is those 87,000, while it has gone down for 6 consecutive weeks, it only went down by 3.6%. Do remember, there are jobs today. And so individuals that are in this situation, while there is some stability right now in unemployment, that stability is about to change pretty significantly in 6 weeks. So please go to jobs.utah.gov. There are plenty of opportunities for employment, and it might be that you have to change the direction or what you have been doing, because some of the economic activity that was available before the pandemic has now shifted into new markets. And with that, we'll go ahead and take any questions. Okay, so the question is, can we talk a little bit about the Unemployment Insurance Trust Fund and how we are doing with the Unemployment Insurance Trust Fund? And so that is actually an important question, because we just said we paid out $730 million in benefits. Prior to the pandemic, and keep in mind, the way unemployment insurance works is every employer reports their wages to the Unemployment Insurance Division. Based on their experience, we calculate a tax rate, and then they pay a tax, and that tax is deposited into a state trust fund. That trust fund can only be used to pay out unemployment benefits to those who are laid off through no fault of their own. And so we have seen a lot of activity there. But of the $732 million that have been paid out, 66% of that is federal funds, meaning it comes from a separate fund. So that has not come from the trust fund. Now, that being said, we are 3 months into this, and we have seen a significant strain on the Unemployment Insurance Trust Fund. Do we believe that we will go insolvent this year? The answer is no. But if we are monitoring, when is that economic activity going to return? When is that continued claims of 87,000 going to start to subside? Because we are 3 months into it, and we still have almost 90,000 people requesting it. So we are monitoring it, and it is starting to see a reduction, or the balance is certainly starting to drop. And what we hope, though, is that as the summer continues, as we continue to work together to improve the economy, and as some of those restrictions are lifted and people start to feel more comfortable, that they will fall off of the unemployment insurance quickly. But we are continuing to monitor that. Nationally, my understanding is 9 states have already requested federal funds because they believe they will, or they already have gone insolvent across the nation. But Utah currently is not that.
With this $100 stimulus going away soon, what do you think the impact will be on those who are job attached and with employers?
Okay. So the question is, with the $600 going away, what kind of impact it will have on those on the benefits that are job attached and with employers? And I'll reemphasize this. Remember, there are currently about 87,000 people asking for continued benefits, meaning that they are not employed. That $600 is about to go away in 6 weeks. And the concern is that if those 87,000 don't take advantage of opportunities today, what will happen is in 6 weeks, all 87,000, unemployment is not going to be a stable option for them anymore. So they're going to have to be incredibly proactive about looking for work. And then the people who are applying for jobs are now competing with new 87,000 people that are applying for jobs. So I would like to emphasize again, there are opportunities today. So individuals who are unemployed and are stable in unemployment, remember that stability goes away in 6 weeks. And so one of the things that employers or employees should do, especially if they're job attached, is they should be in contact with their employer and say, hey, how is it looking? Am I going to be able to return? And have an honest conversation with their employer. And if the employer is not going to see that economic activity return in the next 6 weeks, then that employee should start looking at other opportunities and other industries that have seen growth, have seen improvement, or have seen opportunities, because maybe that industry that they're used to working in is going to be slower to return and to profitability. And so those employees should be having that conversation. And as employers, some employers we have been seeing have also been a little bit slower to open up their doors because there's some concerned about profitability. Maybe there's some concerned about will consumers come, and they also have found that their employees are okay because they have this rich unemployment benefit. Well, that rich unemployment benefit for their employees is also about to end, and they will have a lot of pressure to seek opportunities elsewhere. So if you are an employer that has the opportunity to bring and retain your talented employees and have not done so yet, it would be a great opportunity and very important over the next few weeks to start bringing these employees back and getting them on the stability that is found in employment, because there is not stability in the unemployment insurance program. So the timeline for receiving the pandemic unemployment assistance. Remember, that's the unemployment assistance for those that are ineligible for unemployment, such as those that are self-employed and gig workers. The pandemic follows the same processing timeframes as the unemployment benefit. Keep in mind that while the total initial claims has gone down, unemployment is week to week to week, meaning every week a person has to attest what their situation is, and then we have to make a determination of eligibility. So while the initial claims has gone down, the continued claims is still at 90,000. So we are having to look at nearly 100,000 cases every single week. And so our processing timeframes will continue to be 30 days, including with pandemic. Remember, the pandemic unemployment assistance also has a week-to-week filing. And then, again, the most valued employees that can process the benefit, or most valuable employees that can process the benefit, meaning they have the knowledge to process the benefit, are often pulled in to respond to calls and questions coming in. There is not a need to contact the Department of Workforce Services Unemployment Insurance Division. If we have concerns or questions about your claim, we will contact you. We are trying to find the balance because we know that there are questions. For many of you, it could be the first time you've ever been on unemployment insurance. But understand, every time we pull people off to answer calls and questions, it is delaying the processing. So we're trying to provide that balance and focus on the processing, and we're still committed to that 30-day time frame for the unemployment benefits as well as pandemic. Okay, and with that, we'll go ahead and end the briefing. Thank you.